Hello, the shadow's bad, kind of. Sorry. Hey guys, it's Cabela, and today I am filming, and I look like shit, and the backdrop and everything is just, everything looks off a little bit. That is because I'm really tired. Like, I barely slept last night, and I went to a concert. I was able to get in for free, and went to do some other stuff. Like, literally, I got like 5 hours of sleep the night before yesterday. And then yesterday I was out from like 7 in the morning till like midnight when I got home. And then I had work this morning and I had to be there at 8 something. I literally just got home and it is now 5:30. So here I am. And I'm gonna be basically telling you guys a little bit about how I ended up being homeless and in a lot of shitty situations. I already know right off the bat that there's gonna be a lot of comments saying like, oh, this is your fault, like stop trying to act like everything was someone else's fault. And I just want to start off by saying, like, I'm not saying what happened to me isn't my fault. I'm just saying I'm not to blame for all these shitty situations I was in. A lot of things that happened to me could have happened to anyone, and I feel like a lot of it was a bad luck streak, or after I was cursed, I don't know, maybe like thinking bad things were gonna happen to me and bad things happened to me. I don't know. Life is weird. There's like a lot of reasons as to why things could have happened to me specifically and why, I don't know. I'm gonna explain. If this is like really hard to understand right now, I'm gonna explain, okay? I got you. I also want to say that I'm going to be drinking some chocolate milk right here. Because I'm thirsty and hopefully don't get sick. There's not very much in here because I am lactose intolerant, but not that that's relevant. And I'm gonna be having some chips, so yeah, just a snack because I'm starving. If I look weird, it's probably because some of my eyelashes got ripped off, but that's a different story, a different day. Also, this might be a long video, so if you want to get a snack, feel free to have a snack. This isn't gonna be like a mukbang, so to speak, but maybe kind of, I don't know. I'm gonna be snacking, okay? I'm sorry. Alright, so this story takes place a few months ago, and I went homeless, lost everything I had basically in November. So let's start off before summer. I was in a relationship where it was like a very long-term relationship, so I felt like I couldn't get out of it, kind of. Like, I put so much of myself into it, and like I gave up so much for that like relationship or whatever to work, and it was just going downhill so quickly, and I wanted things to change and for things to get better, but they weren't getting better. Things were not fun. I was basically the sole provider. I was working and trying to pay for 2 people, as well as spending all my savings and stuff on rent if I wasn't making enough on my own to pay for all the food, the bills. And bills are really high in Arizona, especially in the summer, because of the electricity bill. And at the time, I had a house of my own, not something nice, like something really trashy, but it was a house nonetheless. It was a house, okay? Like a little tiny place. And I spent like my entire retirement savings and part of my college savings on that. The plan at the time was I was gonna pay for this place up front and own it, which I did, and then all I had to do, because I wouldn't be paying rent anymore or mortgage or anything, all I had to do was pay for the bills, which is not that much, because you know the electric could be like $200, and then with the water and gas that's another $100. Why are there children screaming outside? And then, as well as internet and all the other stuff, basically all these bills wouldn't even be the cost of rent. So, in my mind, I was going to be saving a lot of money because I would just be paying bills. So eventually I'd be able to save up more money and maybe go to school, maybe do this, maybe do that. Yeah. So, I paid for everything in my life at that point. I paid for the house that I lived in, and I paid for my car up front as well, and I just got some car. It's not even an old car, it's literally 2006, but it is kind of hoopty because it has so many problems. There are children screaming and my dog is just like not having it. My neighbors are great. I'm just gonna wait for this to stop. Side note, for those of you who are asking for more videos, I do want to be really active, but you have to consider that I work early in the morning until like evening-ish. So there's no chance for me to film because I can only film when the sunlight is in. Otherwise, it's like crappy lighting like this. This is like bad lighting. And the other days of the week, I'm usually YouNowing, so if you guys want to see more of me and talk to me more, or if you guys want to just ask me questions or anything, you can do that when I'm live on YouNow. It's linked down below, literally on all my videos. Sorry. And, okay, when I'm not doing that, and it's rainy out, if it's rainy and it's not bright, I can't film as well because I don't have studio lights. I just have this lamp that's really blindingly freaking bright in front of me for my light source. I don't know. It works sometimes when I edit. I can make it look a little better than it is, but it's kind of orangey yellow tone, even though I found a white light thing. And I also, it's like really hard to look at the camera because of how blinding the light is behind it. So I have to film in the day, but I usually work early mornings to evening. Since I live in Oregon, it rains a lot, and during the afternoons it's like bright, but it's not sunny, so I don't get a lot of natural light in my house, so it sucks. And also, my neighbors are terrible. I might have a story time on that, or like reasons I hate my neighbors and why some of my neighbors hate me, but I don't want you guys to think I'm in all this drama because I'm not in any drama with my neighbors. I keep to myself like 24/7. But, and I love my neighbors upstairs, but they have a child and they have a puppy, and that's literally like puppy, like they just got it puppy, and it's, I can hear everything. The walls are thin, well, not really the walls, I would say the floors creak upstairs, so it's really hard to film stuff. Even if I'm playing video games or like I'm talking on the phone, like people can usually hear the noises my neighbors are making upstairs, and I don't want to like go to management and talk about it with them because my upstairs neighbors are the nicest people that I live around, and yeah, they don't mean to make noise, but sometimes you hear their puppy whining or their floors creaking when they walk or their kid playing, and yeah. And then my other neighbors, they're worse. There's children screaming and running around, and there's literally dogs chained to the outside of an apartment, but they can run all the way around. Like I literally tried to get to my mailbox and I had to go all the way around the building, and I'm a dog person, okay? And I tried to go say like, hi dogs, blah, blah, blah. And I tried to walk by, but you can't walk by. Like there's no way for you to walk without them being able to touch you and jump on you and growl at you and bark at you and stuff. And I was not trying to get bit by their big, stutter, their big dog and their little feisty one. I was not trying to get bit. And I was like, I don't know why these dogs don't like me. But had to go around the whole building for that. And their dogs bark at everyone that even walks out of their door. I don't know. And management doesn't even care about that. Like, I don't understand. I also got some new like emo honey boo boo neighbors. Different day, okay? I'm sorry. I'm like rambling about other things, but whatever. This is my channel. If you don't want to hear about me, you can go. So back to the story. I was planning on saving all this money because I already had my car and my house like paid off. The only thing I was going to be paying for was my bills, and splitting that between two people was going to be very cheap, or so I thought. But because that person did not contribute at all, and they kept saying, okay, I'm gonna pay, I'm gonna pay, I'm gonna pay, I'm gonna help, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and they kept using my card and I wasn't looking, and they were saying like, oh well, I'm gonna be paying it back eventually because I'm gonna be working more. And they quit their job when I was away, and I've been saving up for a long time to go to VidCon. So when I was at VidCon, they quit their job, and I spent like all that money to get to VidCon, which wasn't that much, but I spent like probably $300 total or $400 total on a trip that I've been saving up for months. And I could have, in the reality of it, like I could have not gone, and I kept saying this, I could stay and refund my tickets if you need me here and I can work, because like, we would have had enough to pay for that month if he had quit his job. But he quit his job when I was in California. So I come back and I had already missed like a week of work being on that trip. And also, he hadn't been paying any of the bills and he hadn't got any money coming in because he quit. We instantly fell behind. So we were really tight on money because we had just spent money on a new alternator in my car and had to have a new battery and new tires. So all this bad stuff happened in my car, which is really crazy because my car is not that old. And we just got in the house, so we were really tight on money. So since we were tight on money, I was like, I don't have to go on this trip. But doing all the math, we would have more than enough if he were working and if I came back and continued to work. But because he quit, we fell behind instantly. When I got back, I just had to start working and I wasn't getting hours, and a new restaurant was opening right next to where I worked, so I started working there. And so did the person I was with, started working there. And this is like probably a month or two later because I was really tight on money and I was throwing all the money I had, all my tips. Literally my whole paycheck was going to like bills, and all of my tips were going to food, and then I was using my savings to also pay for bills. And little did I know is he also had access to my card and was using my card to buy things and was saying he was going to pay them off. This is causing more issues between us. And this is really sad because in high school, we were like high school sweethearts or whatever. In high school, we took financial aid together, and literally I remember back then thinking like, I don't think money will ever be a problem for me, like will ever get in the way of a relationship. But it really does when you're the only one taking care of you two. You're the breadwinner or whatever, and they're not doing anything at home either. Like I would come home to a dirty house and I would come home to nothing being cleaned, and like find out that he wasn't taking the dogs out and all this other stuff. So it was really irritating. I'd find out that he let the cats out of the house, which was another thing that made me so mad. Was like, I don't know, I was really scared that the cats would get a disease, and because they weren't like, they didn't have all of their shots yet because they weren't that old. So I was really scared that they were going to catch a disease because there are cats outside that are very disgusting. So it was like, my relationship was like really crappy at the time, and I was saying like, you need to figure something out or you need to go. And at the time he kept having like a lot of health issues, and I'd have to take him to the emergency room, and he had like a lot of seizures and things like that. So it was just like, I don't know, I literally like tried to end things in like a mature manner, but like I felt like I had to take care of him because when I did that, it hurt him so bad that he instantly had a seizure and like was blacking out and like body all tense, and I don't know, it's just like something that really scared me. So I felt like stuck with him. And after that, things got worse again because we started working at that new restaurant near where I used to work, and I left my old job because they weren't giving me enough hours, and my new job was saying, if you leave, like, you're gonna get more hours with us. And the first like busy day that I worked for them all training, and then all like the first few weeks or first week or two, I don't know how many weeks it was, but it was towards the beginning of them opening, like probably within the first month of them opening. I was working a lot as a host. I would arrange all the servers and like where they were working and stuff. And one of our busiest nights, I can't remember if it was a Friday or Saturday, but I had worked every day up until that day. And then that day I came in at 9 a.m. Okay, from working, I worked the night before too. I came in at 9 a.m., well, an hour before, and they always wanted us to work off the clock. They said if we wanted hours, we'd have to work like a little bit off the clock because they were a family-owned restaurant, like blah, blah, blah. They're really tight on money, and in reality, I can't even imagine. They had like really crazy nice cars, multiple houses, and multiple restaurants, and like, in reality, they weren't like, oh, they tried to make it feel like we were a part of the family, but it was all like manipulating their employees to do what they wanted. It was like working, I guess, because I didn't really sit there and think about everything the way that I have over time. So basically, I don't know, I was getting really irritated, and this one guy was being really rude to me. Okay, sorry, my, what is it called? Memory card was out of memory, but anyways, I keep going into super depth on the story about work and how I like all this craziness happened. I'm just gonna tell this in a separate story time, but basically this guy literally was screaming at me and like shaking me and telling me what to do and like telling me I didn't know anything and that I wasn't worth shit, and I was doing my job so well and he didn't want to do his job. Like, he was saying I wasn't doing my job by giving him an extra table. When I'm a host and I'm like assigning tables to servers, like, it's my job to assign you all equal tables. You're gonna get another table. So I was really annoyed and I went and told my manager that this was happening, or my boss, I don't know, the people that own the restaurant. I was telling him and he was like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know what you're doing. I don't know, I ended up telling my boss that all this bad stuff was happening and he didn't take it serious, and I ended up having a panic attack and he told me just to take a 2-minute break and go back. And I was freaking out and I couldn't, like, this is just gonna be another story because it's gonna take me too long to talk about everything. But long story short, I had a panic attack, ended up having to leave work even though they gave me permission to leave. Eventually they gave me permission to leave. Okay, so I left because they told me to leave, because they told me I needed a break, and you know, they're family run business and they said that like accidents happen, like bad things happen, and I don't hear from them, and I'm not on this week's schedule, this next week's schedule. My email, I don't get an email back. They're too busy to talk to me at the restaurant I was working at. They didn't schedule me for like 2 weeks. And they didn't call me, they didn't email me, they literally were like avoiding me. Eventually I came in to pick up my check and the manager was, or the owner was actually there, and he wasn't like overwhelmed with customers or too busy to talk to me. And he talked to me about what happened, and basically he blamed the whole thing on me. He basically said, you didn't do anything wrong, but it is your fault that you let it get to you that he said you were doing something wrong. So he was basically saying like, it's your fault that him attacking you, like shaking you, harassing you, gave you a panic attack. Like, it's your fault. So because of that, you can't work around him anymore. And where I worked, they weren't giving tips at all. So it made no sense for me to leave my old job for this new job because I was making 0 tips and I ended up making less money over time. So it was just really stressful, and I ended up not going back because the guy that harassed me, he literally said, oh, was it this person that did this to you? Oh, I noticed that he was doing things like that. Oh, I noticed because other people were telling me this was happening. But he said that guy, he basically said that the guy that was harassing me was gonna keep his job, make that much money, do his thing, and I was gonna have to be out of his way. Literally, I was just picking up my check and people were already talking shit. I had never been treated so shitty by like so many people that knew what happened and then made it seem like I just stopped showing up to work when they didn't assign me anything, and they basically made it seem like I was fired. They didn't even talk to me or answer me at all. And we were like out of money because who I was with at the time ended up quitting that job also for no reason at all. Just didn't like the job, so quit. Didn't like working, so he quit. And I was literally out of money. So at that point, the only thing that was paying for me to eat was like things out of my saving account, and at that point there was nothing left. And we had been trying to sell our little crappy house. Literally, I thought I was recording and I wasn't. But long story short, my camera overheated. Thanks Sony, you suck. Okay, so back to the story. I'm not sure where I left off because I had to let my camera cool down, and it's been like 20 or 30 minutes. So basically after that crappy job, I was so overwhelmed and I just wanted to get out of Arizona. I felt so anxious. I literally moved there to be around my friends, and my friends, I probably hang out with them like 4 or 5 times like total. Maybe like the most, I would say like 10 times we hung out in the like years or 2 that I lived there. They were all busy with school or other things, and I was, you know, really stressed because those were the only friends that I was like allowed to have, because when I would leave the house, the person I was with would non-stop text me to the point saying like, if you don't come home, I'm gonna do this. If you don't come home, I'm gonna do that. You have to come home now, blah blah blah. So I literally felt trapped in my life. I was paying for everything. First of all, I was paying for the house, the car, all of our food to survive. I was paying for the pets. I was paying for all the gas, everything. I was paying for everything in life. And I was the one who was working most of the time, and I was the one coming home and trying to clean things. There wasn't enough time in the day, and I felt so anxious. The only thing that took my anxiety away was like video games. Most of the time I couldn't play video games that often because, you know, you have to pay for like Xbox Live, so those, blah. It was bad. We've been trying to sell our place and leave. I just wanted to be back in Washington or Oregon or somewhere up here, because just being here, I don't know what it is, but I feel so much more content. If someone said, would you rather be homeless in Arizona or homeless in Oregon, I would say Oregon, because I can't even like explain it, but it's a totally different feeling out here. I actually kind of feel like I'm at home here. I can't really explain it. Like, even when I was little, I loved Washington so much. My grandparents used to live in Longview. I just loved it up here, and eventually in high school I convinced my mom to move us to Washington, and I loved living in Washington. And I don't know, I had to come back up here, okay? Like, I don't know what it is, but like I feel like I belong up here. I don't know, this is like a home to me. Like, all those other places I lived were home too, but this is like, I don't, it feels right here. And even if I have no friends or nothing here, I still feel like I belong here. In Arizona, I really felt like I didn't belong, and like there's no reason for me to be there. I don't know, it's just stressful. So basically, tried to sell our place, and the relationship had gotten really bad at that point, and the person I was with was a totally different person that I had literally grown up with. Like, he treated me the way that I never would have let someone treat me before. Like, I let him get away with treating me so bad and saying like terrible things to me because I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like I put so much time into that. I spent so many years with that person, and I thought that how he was treating me was just a phase and he was gonna stop being like that, but things just got worse and worse, and I literally felt like so like alone. Like, I wasn't allowed to have friends. Like, I wasn't allowed to even have anyone help me because like no one could help me because I didn't even I lost like almost all of my friends when I was there. All the friends that I made like at my other jobs or just in the area, like I lost them all because I wasn't allowed to hang out with them because I always had to come home. And he like manipulated me into feeling like I owe him all of my time. The last bit of time being there in Arizona, we tried to sell the place to this one family, and they kept saying like, oh yeah, we're coming, and they put a deposit in and like to hold our house. And at the time I didn't have a phone because I couldn't afford the phone bill. It was really stressful selling the place to them. They had our email. We emailed them all the time. They stopped talking to us eventually, and this had been like weeks after we planned an exact date for them to give the rest of the money and move in, and I had like planned on getting the U-Haul, leaving. Long story short, they disappeared. They stopped replying. Like, they pushed back the moving date once, and then after that they stopped showing up, and I ended up like immediately needing to go because I was in debt now because the bills were not getting paid off because I didn't have a job anymore because I just lost it, and I was trying to leave right away, and I was like not able to go anywhere. Like, I couldn't afford gas to leave and come back eventually. Like, I couldn't afford to do anything. The only friends I had at the time were like all of my Xbox friends. Shout out to like however many of you guys there are, probably like 50 of you, but like shout out to the main MVPs, like, you know, my top 10 Xbox friends. The ones that will see this, like, you're the real MVP. If you're watching this video and we talk on Xbox, you're probably really close to me. You probably mean a lot to me. Honestly, like, this is so like fucking weird to say. If I didn't have like video games and like I didn't have the people I had like in summer all the way up until when I got to Oregon, like, I don't know what my life would be because I had no one. And even though like most of them I still haven't even met in person, and they couldn't help me like physically. They did so much for me. I don't know why I'm crying over that, but it's just like I'm lucky to have come across like all of my friends that I have. Back then it was making me so anxious like to do anything. I couldn't even do like my YouTube videos. I don't know what it was, but there was like a patch on my back and it hurt so bad, and it felt like, I don't know, like a sunburn. I don't get sunburn, so I don't really know what that would feel like, but it felt like there was stuff like underneath my skin burning me, and I kept trying to look in the mirror and I couldn't find anything. I asked other people if they could see anything on my arms and they, like shoulders, anything. They couldn't see it. Like there was no redness at all, but like for days, for weeks, it would come and go. I felt like really severe pain on my shoulder. Like I couldn't wear certain clothes because it would just, like me wearing this right now, I couldn't wear it because it would just be so much, like I could feel the clothing on the burn and it would just hurt even more. So nothing I could do was helping. Ointments don't do anything. Like it was underneath the skin and I don't know what it is. To this day I don't know what it was, but I would get like a lot of pains like that. My ears would like itch on the inside so bad, like, and I couldn't itch, you know, like there was a lot of like physical pain that I felt that is like unexplained at the time. I don't know if it was from anxiety or like what it was from, but it was really, really bad, and I would just feel sore all the time and like fatigued, and that was probably because I wasn't, you know, eating properly. But I don't know, life was really shitty. And I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like I'm gonna say right off the bat, like my life wasn't that bad, because I know there are gonna be people that are like, oh, you're over dramatic. Like it wasn't that bad. Okay, my life was not that bad. Like you're getting what you want. Like I'm admitting my life was not that bad. I know that it could have been worse. I could have not had a house. I could have not had a car. I could have been stranded somewhere totally alone, but I was lucky enough to have the things that I had. So I spent all this money to take my ex back to where he lives and be done with that part of my life, even though I'm not done with that part of my life because there's other drama crap. I went homeless because I was paying for other people and I like invested so much of myself into someone else. I lost my job to like shittiness, and it was just really rough. I also got stung by a scorpion, like that was annoying. I spent a lot of time at that Thunderbird emergency room. It's freaking annoying. Life was very stressful and I'm glad that I'm not where I'm now. Literally thinking about it like doesn't feel like it was real. Like anything that happened doesn't feel real to me. And it feels super like a distant memory. Like there are things that happened to me or that like I remember and that happened like in middle school or in 9th grade or 10th grade, and I remember that so vividly. But for some reason, like last year, some of those memories are just like as if you're recalling a movie and not recalling your actual life, if that makes any sense. So I don't know, I probably missed a lot of parts of my life. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to talk on YouTube as they were happening because it was like I would have been so much more emotional trying to even explain things, and I just would have looked like more of an idiot than I am. Like I moved here because I was able to get a job. I did a FaceTime interview for a job that was in Portland. One of my friends on Xbox moved to like Portland or the Portland area, so I was able to actually stay with them for the majority of the time that I was homeless. So I didn't actually end up sleeping like on the streets in my car. Like there was a few nights, and it's cold as shit, let me say, because Oregon is freaking cold. This happened in like November. I was homeless all the way up until the end of January kind of. Yeah, that would have been so rough. There's so many people who are actually homeless to the point where they don't have cars in Oregon. So I really am grateful that I had a car in the first place, and that I had a friend that I knew, someone that I met through Xbox that was able to give me a home, and another friend from high school that is in the area too that was like giving me an opportunity to like not be on the streets. So because I knew 2 people in Portland, I wasn't stuck in my car the whole time and like literally homeless to the point where I was like sleeping sitting up. I had my dog staying at friends, so they wouldn't have to be in shitty situations like in the car cold. I know a lot of people were saying get rid of your dog, get rid of your dogs, blah blah blah. Like they're literally all I fucking have, and it's so insulting that people are just gonna be like, oh, just get rid of your dog. Like you don't just get rid of someone, like that's your family. Like I don't know why people think dogs are so like dispensable. Like, oh, you don't just raise a fucking dog and then give it away. You know what I'm saying? Like when people move or they move somewhere that doesn't allow their types of dogs, it makes me really upset because that's your responsibility. Like you're a fucking dog, like you're a pet owner and you raise that animal and you don't live where you can't have them. You know what I'm saying? So it's really irritating getting comments like that because no matter what, I'm gonna be able to keep them. Like I'm going to be able to pay for their $8 for 2 months worth of dog food. Like that's not very much money in the grand scheme of things. I'm always gonna have them, like sorry, but they're my fucking family. They're the only family that I really feel like I have in America, and that's just how it is. So I really want you guys to stop commenting things like, oh, get rid of your dogs, just give them away, blah blah blah. They're making things harder for you because I don't care if they're an inconvenience. Like they're my fucking family, they're all I have. So I really want that to end. This video is gonna be so inconsistent because I keep having to like delete memory on my camera and letting it cool down and whatnot. I'm like, this is like stressing me to think about. No, I thought I would finally make this video because I haven't talked about like how I went homeless and all of this because it makes me feel crappy to realize like this is what my life is. I mean, it's not anymore. After I got my job in Portland and I had a place to stay and everything, I worked and I saved up my money and I had enough money to do my first month and deposit to rent a place. And not in Portland, of course, Portland's freaking crazy expensive, but in the literal middle of nowhere. But I'm still in Oregon. I'm renting a apartment and I have a lot more space than I ever had in Arizona even, which is crazy. Things are working out. After my job, it was a seasonal job that I got in Portland. After my job, I moved and got a new job, and now I have that job, and I'm back making YouTube videos regularly, or at least trying really hard to. I don't feel as much anxiety in my body. Like I don't know, my core doesn't hurt so much anymore. Like I don't feel tense as much anymore. I don't get like bruises or like hot patches or anything on my body or like extreme itching or anything being here. So I think like my stress level has gone way lower just being on my own with my pups. As far as like the place that I used to have in Arizona, I ended up selling it, and it's like a rent to own type situation, but I'm literally not getting shit from that. Like I'm losing a lot of money, but I had to do what I had to do in that situation to just not go broke. If I would have stayed where I was living at the time, like I didn't have any money to pay off any of the bills, any gas, anything. Like I don't know how I would have survived doing that. People said you should have just stayed in Arizona. Like, one, my mental health was so bad. Two, I had to get away from the person I was with. Three, I had so many crappy experiences and memories there. Like it was just weighing down on me. And four, I had no way to like get to work and stuff because I didn't have enough gas money, and I didn't have like a job and all of that. So I just wanted to start over, and I had the chance to, so I did, and I don't regret anything that's happened since. My life has been getting better. A lot of shitty things keep happening. You guys have no idea. A lot has happened, and I haven't shared much of it. I've shared some of it on you now, but I haven't shared much of it on my other social media on YouTube. But basically, I don't have a car no more, and I gotta go to court and all this other shit. But moral of the story is, I have a freaking air mattress to sleep on. I have a couch to sleep on as an option. I have a freaking kitchen and an office and I have my puppies. Like, they're with me. They're not like staying far away from me at someone else's house. Like, they're here. I play video games with my friends like once or twice a week, and it's just like it releases like so much stress. And I don't know, I have so much stuff, and it's like my own, like it's mine, and I don't know, it feels good. Things are still shitty, don't get me wrong, but things are so much better than they used to be, and I don't know. And the reason I filmed this video is because a lot of people ask like questions about it and keep commenting randomly. A lot of people want updates, and you know, I wasn't gonna film them right away, and it's been a decent amount of time. I still don't really feel ready to film this, but today someone gave me a ride home from work and was like, I don't know, talking about like my backstory and stuff. And I was explaining like, oh yeah, I kinda like all this craziness happened, like, oh yeah, I was cursed, oh yeah, shitty relationship, everything went downhill, and then went homeless, and then just moved here, well, moved to Portland, then moved here, and then it was like a long story thing, back and forth conversation I was having with someone, and like, I don't know, it was the first time I like talked about it out loud, really, more than just to like joke about it. Like, it's the first time I've actually recapped on like what I've been freaking going through. Felt like finally I talked about it earlier today, so I can talk about it with you guys. Like, that's gonna be it for today's video. I'm sorry if I talked your guys' ears off. This is more of like an update than like a story time, and I'm sorry. How I got fired from work, that will probably end up being more of a story time and more exciting. I'm sorry I'm like super low energy and like bummed out and stuff, and I look like this. It's been a long couple of days here, but it's finally like my weekend. So tomorrow and the day after are gonna be like my relaxed days. So it's like, well, good. Whew. My neighbors are so loud. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys got to know me a little better. Oops, someone called me on Snapchat. That's gonna be it for today's video. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.